I'm Lisa Federico, and this is Inside Northwest Columbus. After spending decades in corporate marketing, I traded boardrooms for backyards because the best stories are happening right here at home. Every week, you'll meet entrepreneurs, creatives, and everyday neighbors doing extraordinary things across Worthington and Northwest Columbus. So let's jump into this week's conversation. Welcome to this episode of Inside Northwest Columbus. We're so glad to have you. And I am so happy to welcome Rebecca Milnes of the Avenu Wellness Center to the show. Welcome.
Thank you very much for having me. It's a joy to be here.
I'm so glad you're here. We have so much to talk about today. As the owner of the Avenu Wellness Center, you offer a variety of different types of therapies. Most notably, hyperbaric oxygen, but you also offer PEMF, which we're going to talk about, and you've got a lot of other good things coming down the road, so I'm excited to get into that as well. As many of you who follow the show, you know that we often showcase those wellness practices that are doing things that may not be necessarily thought of as mainstream, but the results are incredible. So I'm so excited to have you talk about this.
Thank you very much.
I want to go back, though, because you have an incredible story. I want to go back to what led you to Hyperbaric and talk a little bit about how that experience evolved to create the Avenu Wellness Center.
Okay. Well, first of all, let me start by saying I'm not a doctor. I'm not a medical professional. I have no background in medicine whatsoever. I do have a lot of personal experience with people being ill, primarily from brain injuries. So my daughter, at the age of 41, had a stroke, and then she had some deficits, but one of them primarily being loss of balance. And so within 2 years, she had fallen and suffered 2 concussions or had 2 TBIs.
Good gracious.
And at that point, she really did have some major problems going on. She was having seizures. She had loss of cognition, loss of balance, numbness down her right-hand side, light sensitivity, just numerous things. And she was very depressed. And she discovered hyperbaric oxygen through a facility in North Carolina. It was a brain clinic called the Apex Brain Clinic. And their primary thing that they did in order to help someone was to do hyperbaric oxygen, whereas here locally, she was told by her neurologist, after 2.5 years, whatever's going to resolve probably will have, and just get used to the new you. And
just what we want to hear.
Well, but in allopathic medicine, in Western medicine, that's all. We have physical therapy, we have occupational therapy, but that doesn't heal the brain. That doesn't do anything structurally to try and heal the brain damage. So she, to her credit, she searched everywhere and she found hyperbaric oxygen. She subsequently did about 80 dives is what we call them. But as of the very first dive, she found a difference. There was an actual click in her brain. And she said it was like, watching The Wizard of Oz, where you're watching and it's in black and white.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden the doors open to the land of Oz and it's in Technicolor. And she said she felt this click and her vision went from black and white to color. And she didn't even realize that she was seeing this limited vision. Plus it was clear and things had been kind of foggy and hazy. So she now, this has now been almost coming up on 5 years. And she is, I would say, 97% healed. She has a couple of things. She still has a little light sensitivity, light to LED lights. And her temperature regulation is not quite on. And she has one spot on her hand that is still a little numb. But she was numb from like here all the way down her right side of her body. So that's a huge improvement.
I want to clarify for the audience, when you said a dive, that is defined as a session in the hyperbaric oxygen chamber. That's what you meant by that.
Right.
Okay.
Hyperbaric oxygen started in the diving, the scuba diving community, when people would go down at depths and then they would be exposed to all this pressure and then they would come up very quickly and they would experience what they call the bends, which is a very painful, very serious complication of scuba diving.
It's basically air bubbles in the bloodstream.
Yes.
Right? Okay.
So they developed these hyperbaric chambers where they could regulate how much pressure you were getting. And so each visit to a hyperbaric chamber was called a dive, equivalent to doing a scuba dive.
Okay.
So that's where that came from.
And so your daughter experienced tremendous healing
Absolutely.
from hyperbaric, and your son did as well.
My son did as well. He had a serious allergic condition. I call it mast cell activation syndrome. I don't know what you need to call it, but the fact of the matter is his body was going against itself. And so in his case, he'd been battling it for over 5 years with doctors, with medical professionals, with IV vancomycin, with all sorts of different things, and to no avail. And in 30 days, it cleared his condition up completely. Completely.
So talk a little bit about hyperbaric, not so much from a scientific standpoint, but so that people can understand what is the premise behind hyperbaric? How does it help heal the body? I find the science absolutely fascinating.
Well, for any of you who've been in the hospital or in a doctor's office or been through the COVID situation, they put this little pulse oximeter on your finger and it measures how much oxygen is in your bloodstream. And if you're healthy, it will normally register around 98%, 98 to 99%. So you think, okay, how can I get any more oxygen? So I don't need more oxygen. I'm almost at 100% saturation. That's in your bloodstream, in your red hemoglobin. So what hyperbaric does is, and you said not to go into too much technical, but the fact of the matter is, oxygen under pressure goes from being a gas to a liquid. And so when you're in a hyperbaric chamber under pressure, the oxygen that you breathe in is converted from gas to a liquid. And it enters into your blood plasma as well as into your red blood cells. That means your body can handle a lot more oxygen.
Okay.
And that oxygen goes into your plasma. That plasma goes throughout your body, and it creates more energy. Oxygen is needed for energy. So the more energy you have, the more circulation you have. The more circulation you have, the more you flush out inflammation from the body and toxins. And in our business, inflammation is enemy number one. Right. Almost every chronic disease that you know of has some component of inflammation, whether or not it's diabetes, when someone has a problem and their feet swell or their legs swell, or heart disease. If you have congestive heart failure, your heart is not pumping enough to get rid of the fluids from your body. If you have an infection, you get inflammation surrounding a site. If you had a joint replacement, you could have the joint swell. So all of these things are inflammatory. And when that oxygen gets in there and creates more circulation, it flushes the circulation from the body, which allows the body to heal normally. And it also gets rid of a lot of pain. Pain, many times, is just where you've got an inflamed joint or an inflamed spot in your body, and it has moved or compressed your nerve endings temporarily. They're under pressure. So when you remove the inflammation, those nerve endings have a chance to go back to normal. We have people who drop off of meds in one day.
That's crazy. Let me say this back to you to make sure that I have it.
Okay.
So what hyperbaric oxygen does is it allows your body to absorb far more oxygen than it would normally. And the energy that produces in the cells is what lowers inflammation.
Yes.
Right? Which is what helps the body heal faster.
Correct.
Do I have that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Plus, as soon as you start hyperbaric, every individual, we have stem cells. The older you get, the fewer stem cells you have. So when you start using hyperbaric oxygen, your body starts increasing its stem cell production. And at a certain point, it takes off like a galloping horse, and you will have 5 to 12 times more stem cells circulating in your body than normal. And those stem cells go anywhere they're needed in the body. They'll go to a joint. They'll go to your stomach. They'll go to a wound. They'll go to your brain. So if someone has a concussion or a TBI, or, they've got dementia, well, let's just say concussion or TBI, you will get more stem cells going to your brain and help to reduce the damage that's been done to your brain.
I get it. And this is why I think a lot of people might equate hyperbaric just for traumatic brain injury. But what we're really talking about is a variety of things that can be controlled or healed based on, right, the power of the body healing itself through oxygen. So it's not just TBIs.
Oh, no.
Stroke recovery. I mean, your son's skin condition. There's lots of things that can be affected by hyperbaric.
We thought we would be seeing mostly stroke and concussion and TBIs. Our first patients were neuropathy. And neuropathy is something that, the physicians can't do anything about it. They give you gabapentin, they can measure it, they can tell you, they can test and say you have neuropathy, but they can't do anything. We actually have had people who have recovered from neuropathy.
It's amazing.
So, yes, it is.
Let's pause for just a moment. March is our home and design issue where we explore how people are rethinking the way they live in their spaces, from kitchens and outdoor living to lighting, materials, and the details that quietly change everything. On the podcast, we're sitting down with the designers, builders, and experts shaping homes right here in Northwest Columbus. If you care about craftsmanship, smart design, and making your home work beautifully for the way you live, make sure you're subscribed. You can explore the full home and design issue through the City Lifestyle link in the show notes. And I know I've said this over and over, but what kills me, right, is that this is not necessarily mainstream.
Correct.
A doctor is not going to say, hey, you should try hyperbaric. And it's because of what? If this is a protocol that helps so many people and helps the body heal itself, why aren't we using it more often? They use it in the NFL. We have all these research studies. It's heavily used in Israel. Why not here?
Because there are only 14 conditions which are FDA approved in the United States, and it's very expensive. I was told it would take $100 million to get other conditions approved. Just like if I won the lottery and I had $100 million and I went in and I said, okay, I'd like to have this condition approved by the FDA, that's great. They could approve it. And then there's no patent. You can't patent oxygen.
Right.
So who in their right mind is going to spend that kind of money to get one condition approved when there are, 1,000 types of things? So why would you do that? And so then you've got this lock where the doctors, the medical community says, well, they're not FDA approved. But there are a lot of things that are not FDA approved that are used off-label. Hyperbaric oxygen is FDA approved, but only for a certain number of procedures. But gabapentin, which doctors give out like Tic Tacs, is actually only approved for shingles pain, not for pain from surgery.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Huh.
Epilepsy and shingles pain. Not just generic pain, but they're limited. They don't want to do oxy, they don't want to do hydrocodone any longer. And so, this is their go-to. But it's not an effective pain reliever.
Yeah. And you started the Avenu Wellness Center to be able to bring hyperbaric oxygen as well as other kinds of protocols to our community.
Right.
Because you saw the difference.
We are science-based. I mean, I'm a very pragmatic person. And so everything that we do, we have the science that backs it up. We say, this is why this works. This is how it works. This is the science behind it. We have, I bet, 8 binders right now that we keep all of the studies. I like to have physical things to look at. All the young kids, they can have all of their Wi-Fi and their
stuff.
It's
available digitally too.
Oh, we have a full library of that too. But I like to be able to go and take one and mark it out and use it and everything. So we've got a full library. And in our library, I always tell everyone, we don't just put the good stuff.
Right.
We put the good, bad, and the ugly. So if there's a study that comes out and says that this doesn't work, that's in there too. So you can go through and you can look and you can read all of it. We make all of that accessible to anyone who wants. But no, it's not just hyperbaric. Because I tell people, hyperbaric is not cheap, but then neither is our health, our livelihood, our ability to ambulate, to be able to talk, to be able to do things without pain. that all is very expensive. But, what's the cost of your life? Right. So, but there are other things. So, for example, if you go into a car dealership, let's say you go into a Chevrolet dealership and you see a Corvette on the floor and it's shiny and it's beautiful, and it goes 0 to 60 in, I don't know what, 3 seconds or 5 seconds. Some car guy would know that. I don't know. But that's great. But you walk out and you buy a Chevy Impala because it gets you from A to B the same as the Corvette did. It just doesn't do it as fast and it's not as flashy and, it doesn't have the big souped up engine. Well, there are things that we need the souped up engine for. There are conditions, healing bones, different things that need a deeper, heavier pressure. But there are also a lot of things that don't need that kind of pressure. So we like to offer a variety, and PEMF is one of them. Yeah. PEMF is pulsed electromagnetic field therapy. Big name for a mat that lays on a bed, and it has frequencies because we are, regardless of whether or not people want to say this sounds like woo-woo, we are electrified beings. Every cell in our body has an electrical charge. And if you want to look at conventional medicine, look at an EKG or an EEG. Those are measuring electrical energy in your body. So this flat mat, you can lay on it, and if you have a headache, we've got a frequency that will say, this is the frequency you need in order to have a headache cured. If you've got pain in an elbow or a shoulder or wherever, we've got a frequency that does that. And it's a fantastic tool. But what it also does is it puts a charge in cells that have lost their charge. And that's primarily the problem. That's the reason why this works in many situations, because when you have a chronic condition, an ailment, your cells some of them will lose their charge. Okay. And so this puts a charge back into the cell. Then when you get into hyperbaric, you've got all this oxygen and you've got all of these cells that are now ramped up and ready to go, and that electrical charge merges with that oxygen and boom, you've got ATP. So it enhances the hyperbaric oxygen equipment also. It'll work on its own. Hyperbaric works on its own. When you put the two together, they're dynamite.
Yeah, ATP is the level of energy that the cell has.
That is our energy. That's what we call energy.
Mm-hmm. And so the concept behind PEMF is it's an electromagnetic stimulation, right?
Which you don't feel, you don't touch, you don't hear it, you don't feel anything. You just lay there.
But it targets those cells that may have lost their charge so that they can get recharged up and now start working the way that they're supposed to. Do I have that right?
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
Yeah.
Tell me, because we've talked a lot about PEMF in the past, but you use it for like everything. If you have any kind of infection, the flu, food poisoning, you have your own personal PEMF mat that you use.
Oh, yes.
And you swear by it.
Oh, absolutely. So 2 things that almost everybody is going to be aware of is, first of all, there are so many women who are our age who are having osteoporosis, osteopenia, osteoporosis. The PEMF mat actually rebuilds bone density. And it's been proven, NASA uses it for their astronauts to rebuild bone density when they come back from long space hauls. And it's really great. So you don't have to take the shot. You don't have to do all of that kind of stuff, which those have some side effects. Right. This has no side effect, and it will rebuild the bone density, which is fabulous. The second is my daughter has never slept a good night's sleep in her life. Right. And you get on that PEMF mat and you go to sleep. So she now sleeps, she has one on her bed and she sleeps, well, she used to sleep on it every night. Now she sleeps so well she no longer needs it.
Isn't that something?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's back up a minute. Let's say that I have a condition that I want your help with, right? Because you offer lots of different, I call them protocols, right? But I want to start with hyperbaric, because I think when people look at a hyperbaric oxygen chamber, they might be like, oh my God, that's like, I'm claustrophobic. Talk me through the experience that somebody has when they go into the hyperbaric oxygen chamber. In the movies, right, it looks super scary. But in reality, right, it's actually kind of calming. right?
Well, first of all, let me just say, not everybody gets in a hyperbaric oxygen chamber. We have a certified nurse practitioner. She evaluates everyone. She looks for all kinds of conditions to make sure there's no contraindication. There's a few things that people can't get in with. So if someone's had tuberculosis, you cannot get in a hyperbaric oxygen chamber. It can reactivate tuberculosis.
Oh my,
Yeah.
Okay.
If you've got COPD, we don't want you there. We're not a medical facility. We don't have pulmonologists on staff. And COPD is definitely something that needs to be monitored very closely. So we have a certified nurse practitioner, and she gets from you what your goals are. What are you in there for?
So if it's a skin condition or brain injury or stroke recovery, neuropathy, right? You're experiencing something
Colitis,
you want to change.
Diverticulitis, a broken bone, shoulder replacement, hip replacement, anything like that. But, we ask, what is your goal? What are you trying to do?
Yep.
And so then we sit down, and within the confines of what your budget is, we will pick out the best and most appropriate thing for you. Because, like I said, not everyone can afford the Corvette or the Rolls Royce, the Maserati, but we, more often than not, have something that will help. It may take longer.
Yeah.
But it will do the job. So that's the first thing. The second thing is we don't have a conventional tube that is what most people think of when if they think of hyperbaric, they think this tube, you get on a gurney, you roll in the gurney, they close the door, roll it up. Ours looks more like a space pod. It's round. It has glass on, 2 big glass windows, and then a door that has a glass hatch in it. You don't get locked in it. We close the door. The pressure seals the door, but as soon as the pressure drops, the door will open. You're never actually locked in, so if you decide you need to get out for some reason, you can turn the pressure off and you can exit. So that helps a lot with the claustrophobia because you are in control. We don't encourage you to do that because we don't want somebody coming down too fast. We'd prefer that they let us regulate it.
Right.
But if there's an emergency, it
You're not locked in.
That's right.
Yeah.
And so it's, and the only side effect or the only thing that people sometimes will have a problem with is pressurizing, just the same as going up in an airplane, that you can develop some pressure in your ear. We go very slowly. We give you a lot of tips. If you can't do it, then we would bring you down. There are very few people that we have that problem with. So it's got a reclining chair in it. It's got a pad. It's not an iPad. It's just a pad that's got movies on it. It's got music on it. So you can go in and sleep. You can read a book. You can take a book in with you. And our equipment is what they call mild hyperbaric. So it's not 100% oxygen. It's 95% oxygen. That makes it a much safer piece of equipment than using a medical grade piece of equipment. So it's a very comfortable experience. You can talk. There's an intercom. You need some. Right. We had someone the other day. I don't encourage this. We probably won't be doing this again. But we had someone the other day who they were concerned that the person was going to be, concerned or nervous the first time, and so she brought a guitar in, and she was playing guitar over the speaker to the person who was in the chamber. So, but she came through it just fine. She didn't need it. She turned on her own music inside and said, I'm good.
I'm done. Yeah.
But it's a very pleasant experience. It lasts a little bit over an hour. It's about an hour and 10 minutes by the time you decompress. But like I said, you can watch movies, you can play brain games, you can read a book, you can sleep.
Yeah, and you're not locked in a solid chamber. You can see out and you have access to the people that are around you. So it's an enjoyable experience.
Yes. Well, we had someone the other day who was playing Frankie Valli on the music, and I went out in the front and
I was just going to say, how can you not to Frankie Valli? For those of you who know who Frankie Valli is.
And I got a pretty good laugh from him on that.
I'll bet. And then for PEMF, when you combine that with hyperbaric, that one's super easy also, right? It's just a mat that you lay on, but you have certain frequencies that you can adjust based on whatever the goals are, right?
Yes.
That particular patient has.
Yes, we have over 15,000 frequencies.
It's crazy.
So we've got a book and we study and we look at all the tables and we talk with people all over who do PEMF. And so we're constantly adding to our list. And, if it works, it works. If it doesn't, we change it to something else because it is all of medicine is as much an art as it is a science. Every person is an individual. Everyone has different physiology. They have different experience. They have different supplements. They have different genes. And so you just really have to talk with people and find out exactly what's going on with them and with their body.
Yeah. Now, you offer some other protocols as well, which are very interesting.
We do.
And then you've got some brand new ones coming up, which I'm excited to hear about. But
we have all kinds of things.
Yeah.
So we have what we call our Victory protocol, which is vestibular motion. I'm not even going to try to explain what that is, but we have cranial electrical stimulation, which is essentially little probes that are placed on your ear, and it issues a microcurrent. You don't feel it. If you feel it, it's too high. Okay. So you don't want to feel anything. And little headphones that deliver frequencies that they're called binaural beats. It means they're asynchronous. So one might be 400 and the other 600, and the 200 the 200 is the balance. So it balances your left and right brain.
Okay.
Which is critical in terms of good thinking. And then it has stroboscopic lights, which people just find it tremendously relaxing that the anxiety is just dissipated. So people with high blood pressure go in and they'll in 30 minutes, their blood pressure will drop 30 points.
And so does it create like it relaxes the body, or it allows the body to maybe
it relaxes
re-regulate?
The mind.
Interesting. So it's a little like neurofeedback.
Very similar.
Yeah.
But you don't do anything.
Yeah.
You don't participate. You just lay back in this chair and I go to sleep.
Yeah.
And I don't even know it's been done, but I get up and I feel very focused, very calm, very relaxed, and able to go about my business. And we use it for anxiety, for depression, for PTSD, for
And how long does a session take?
30 minutes.
Yeah, that's not bad at all.
Yeah.
That's easy. Yeah. What are some others?
So we have this protocol. It's called Exercise with Oxygen Therapy, and it won the 2019 Nobel Prize for the hypoxic-hyperoxic paradox.
And that means
I don't know where they come up with these. What it means is you go and you exercise with an oxygen mask on, and you're getting additional oxygen as you're exercising. And then you do it, we do it to a certain heart rate. You go to maximum heart rate in so many seconds and stuff. Then we take the oxygen off and you drop your workout down. So you go down to a walk, and you do that for so many seconds. And then we ramp back up, put the oxygen mask back on and pick it back up. What happens is when you take the oxygen mask off, your body goes into panic. It's like, oh, I don't have any oxygen. And it starts working really, really hard. And so it actually helps you. Like we've had two people who've been competing, one in Senior Olympics and one in the Paralympics, who have used it to help train to increase their VO2 max. So the one guy was able to go to Colorado and do altitude with he had no acclimation period.
So he didn't have to go 2 weeks early to help his body acclimate.
He was totally fine.
Wow.
So it increases the amount of oxygen that you can take in and that you can utilize. You get 45 minutes of exercise in 15 minutes. So athletes really love that one. It's really, really great.
Yeah. Didn't get the magazine at home? No problem. You can read it for free by signing up for our digital issues. Just head to the link in the show notes. And hey, if you're just listening to this episode, did you know you can watch it too? Catch the full video on YouTube, link below. I love that you've got all of these different protocols, because one thing, right, may not address that particular client's goals, right? So you mentioned having all kinds of different levels, but you can mix and match according to whatever is going to be customized for that particular patient.
Well, I tell people a lot of times we'll start out with hyperbaric, and you're spoon feeding someone oxygen. They're not doing anything. They're not working for it.
Yeah.
So we give them that, and then at a certain point, we transition them up to the exercise with oxygen, because now they're working for that oxygen. And so their whole body is then engaged. So it's a good transition for someone who couldn't do anything when they came in, maybe couldn't walk, came in a wheelchair or on a walker with a cane. Now they've got all this oxygen. Now they need to develop their muscles. And so we can take them upstairs and we can work them on that. It's a really effective thing for transitioning them.
Yeah. One of the things I didn't realize was how beneficial some of your therapies are for people who are either going into surgery,
Oh, absolutely.
haven't yet, or people who come out of surgery. As well as, like, I love the story that you told me about the Olympic skier that you were working with. Can you talk a little bit about some of these things where the therapy is so beneficial, but most doctors just don't think about it? Like, for example, the broken bones story with your skier.
Well, he had a broken ankle, a broken tibia, 2 discs in his back were
that all?
damaged, and he had a concussion. And he's a cancer survivor, but he's also a chemotherapy survivor. But it means he has really brittle bones.
Yeah, and he's an Olympic skier,
He's
right?
a Paralympic snowboarder.
Okay, sorry.
So no,
I was
that's right.
close.
And he's going to he's going to participate in March in Milan, as far as we know at this point. So he called us and he said, I've done all this. I don't want to have surgery. And we said, well, you have to have surgery. Those bones need to be put back in the right spot. We can heal them. We can help heal them, but we don't want them like this.
Right.
We want them in the correct position. So he went in, he got his plate and his screws, and the surgeon said, okay, now 16 weeks non-load bearing and then physical therapy. Well, he was crushed because that meant he was going to miss the entire rest of the season, and he was out of contention for the Olympics. So he came in, we gave him 5.5 weeks of hyperbaric. He went back for his first checkup. They did an x-ray, and the doctor said, never seen anything like this. You are fully healed. You are cleared for weight bearing, and you are cleared for competition. Within 3 days, he was back in Colorado, and that next Friday, he skied in the last qualifying event that then qualified him to ski in the Nationals in 2025, which then meant he was able to resecure his place on the Olympic team. Now, he would never have had that opportunity.
Right.
Because, the doctor said, what are you doing? And he said, well, I've done hyperbaric oxygen. He said, I've never seen anything like this. And his case was an unusual in terms of, when do you ever hear 16 weeks for a bone? Well, when you've had many, many courses of chemotherapy.
Yeah, yeah.
So it was unusual, but it's not unusual at all for hyperbaric to cut the healing time by a third at least, if not half.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
And again, I keep going back to people don't recognize that these therapies are available.
Yeah.
We've talked also about there are people who just don't heal well after surgery, or maybe they have wound issues where they've got wounds that just won't heal. The protocols that you offer really help the body kind of heal itself, so to speak.
Absolutely. Not that there isn't a place for antibiotics, although I'd call it a last place. I'd rather do hyperbaric first. And then if there's something that it just can't get deep enough or whatever. But no, it's wonderful. And that is it is approved for diabetic wound healing. Here's the catch. In order to have it qualified for Medicare or Medicaid or any of the insurance policies, you have to have had this non-healing wound for, I believe it's 30 days. Okay, in 30 days, you got a bad wound, it can go septic really fast. And you can lose a toe or a foot or an ankle or something really fast. It can go septic. It's just septic can be like that.
Yeah.
So in my estimation, if you've got diabetes and you crack your toe on the bed and it hurts and you see your toe starts to puff up and get red, if you go in and you get hyperbaric right then, we'll heal that right then. It'll be nothing, a couple of sessions. And then you don't have to be looking at, I might need to have my toe amputated. Right. Instead of waiting 30 days, it doesn't clear up because diabetic wounds don't heal easily. And so you're looking and it gets bigger and the infection goes to another toe and pretty soon your whole foot is swollen. To me, there's no logic in that. And when they say, oh, well, it's not approved, it's not FDA approved, if it can heal a bad diabetic wound, you better believe it can heal one that's lesser. Why not do it early? Fire prevention, not firefighting. Hit it early. And so that's the dilemma, is that there are things that, we know that they're approved for certain things, but they just want them to be so bad that, you wait too long and then all of a sudden, you're looking at amputating a foot or toes or an ankle or whatever.
Right. And insurance does not cover many of these protocols.
Well,
will it?
They will cover diabetic wounds, but again, only if
you've
had this elimination period.
Yeah.
They won't cover it if you're early on, which, shoot, I'd rather cover it early on than have to pay for an amputation.
Absolutely.
So, but yeah, there are a lot of things that are like that. So diabetic wounds, that's a good example of something, but it heals all kinds of wounds and they don't have to be diabetic.
Right.
We had a gentleman come in and he came in for esophageal problems, but then he came up one day and he goes, hey, look at me. He goes, I'm wearing jeans with a belt. And we go, oh, that's great. And he goes, no, you don't understand. I had a hernia and I had it repaired and it's never healed. It's been 2.5 years. And I keep having to go in and have them lance it and clean it out and everything. And it's sore. And I've been wearing sweatpants for 2 years. And he said, I just realized it's completely healed. And that was not on his list of things to be healed. We didn't even know he had it.
Right.
Didn't even know. He never even mentioned it. But he was like, yeah, it healed it up.
What do you think it's going to take for the medical community to start looking at the success stories behind some of these protocols that wellness providers like you are providing?
Well, there are a couple of things. First of all, Robert Kennedy believes strongly in hyperbaric. So if he decides after he's tackled vaccines and, everything else that he's doing, he's got a list of things that he would like the FDA to loosen up on and, work with the various providers to get good protocols, good standards and things, but so that they can be used. So that's one aspect. The other one is, insurance companies, if they were to look at something like an amputation, like, many cases where they have septic conditions, and realize that if they had hyperbaric oxygen and cleared the infection and the inflammation early on, that they wouldn't be looking at a prolonged hospitalization. They wouldn't be looking at somebody who had to be on a ventilator.
It would actually be cheaper than what they're spending to fix them.
So if they decide that they will approve them, I don't think it's going to come from the hospital side, because the hospital side, that's asking them to give up revenue.
Yeah.
But if, I have a medical director, I have a certified nurse practitioner, they can write prescriptions. So if they wrote a prescription and said this person needs this because this qualifies for this, they could come and there would be more freestanding hyperbaric oxygen clinics that would be able to deal with those types of things. Yeah. That would come from the insurance level. And the insurance companies would find that their bottom line was a lot stronger because they would not be paying for these hospitalizations, which are, I don't say unnecessary. They're necessary, but they're necessary because the conditions have not been treated fast enough.
Right.
And in an appropriate enough fashion.
Yeah.
So
you are always doing research. Every time we talk, you've got something new that's come out. What's next for the Avenu Wellness Center? What are things that you're looking at for 26?
Well, we have red light therapy. We also are working to develop a program to treat PTSD in veterans. So we've got a couple of things. There are already some programs going in the United States, and we feel we've got a really solid program because you combine oxygen with our Victory protocol, and we've seen some magnificent results with PTSD.
Fantastic.
So we think that is going to be really great. It's also used for anti-aging. Actually, hyperbaric oxygen increases something called the telomere. And the telomere that's what tells you how long you're going to live unless you have an accident. But your telomeres shorten as you get older. And there is actually research that shows hyperbaric oxygen can increase the length of the telomere and extend your life, your expected life.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of people who are looking into things like that. There's a lot of research now on anti-aging and trying to extend, not just extend life, but extend it well.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's probably something else we're going to really focus on. And we have some really great results with fertility. It's amazing.
Fascinating.
Just amazing, because you have all of these young people who are going to doctors and getting all the in vitro fertilization, and it's tremendously expensive and not comfortable and not pleasant. And hyperbaric oxygen on both the male and the female can enhance their potential for having a fertilized egg and a healthy pregnancy. And it's really, really exciting when you see somebody who can come in, who gets they get their body in shape, both of them in shape. And then if they do need to have IVF, maybe it'll only take one time because they're both in better health going into the process. So we think that's really exciting too.
Where can people get more information if they want to talk with you, if they would like you to, speak with them about everything that you offer? How can they find you?
Well, we have a website, theavenuwellness.com, and it's Avenu is spelled AVENU because we say the emphasis is on you. Yep. So the Avenu Wellness Center.com, or the AvenuWellness.com, pardon me. And then we have a Facebook page, and we have an Instagram page, and we have a LinkedIn page, and so we've got a Twitter site. We've got it all.
Lots of places to find.
Lots of places.
And all of those will be in the show notes. So if you're interested and need more information, you can just look right in the show notes. Rebecca, thank you so much for being a guest on the show.
Oh.
I always enjoy talking to you. This show can go
you.
on for hours, right? We always get into these long conversations.
Yes, this is my life. This is what we do now.
Well, thank you for what you do. You're making an impact for so many people who, prior to meeting you, didn't realize that some of these protocols were even available. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
And that's going to conclude this episode of Inside Northwest Columbus. We will see you next week on the show. Take care.
Boxland Media. Think big.